Hey everybody, welcome, welcome to Hidden Horror. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate that. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome. Hey everybody, how you guys doing today? Welcome to Hidden Horror. I'm here today to just bring you an update on what's been going on with the James Crumbley trial. This is the fourth day of testimony with the witnesses, and I'm just here to bring you an update. There's been a very familiar flow of the witnesses. And we're not going to go over all of the testimony, but I am here to give you four things in a little bit more detail that has happened. So on the Hidden Horror Facebook page, I've added an article that we're going to go over today. Let me pull it up. Okay. It's in the Detroit News. It's dated March 11, 2024, and it's titled Four Revelations So Far from the James Crumbley Trial. And it does not have an author listed. So let's get started. Most of the witnesses who testified so far in James Crumbley's trial in Oakland County Circuit Court on involuntary manslaughter charges also testified in his wife Jennifer's trial, but some new details have emerged in the case. Crumbley is being tried in connection with the deaths of four students his son fatally shot in 2021 at Oxford High School. Here are some new details that emerged on Monday. The first one is titled, Counselor Didn't Suspect Shooter. Shawn Hopkins, who was Ethan Crumbley's counselor at Oxford High School, testified Monday that he got at least 3 different emails from teachers concerned about the teen's behavior. He even met with the teen and his parents the morning of the shooting about a math worksheet on which he'd drawn disturbing pictures and wrote the words, blood everywhere, and help me. So last time we kind of went over the picture. We talked about it. He had other very disturbing items on the worksheet, including a person that had blood dripping out of the back of their skull with a gun on the worksheet. He was not spending his time in class doing the work. He was doing a drawing that day. This is the morning before the mass shooting when both his parents, James and Jennifer Crumbley, they came to the school for a hearing to talk about what was on the worksheet. And at that time, his counselor, Mr. Hopkins, he thought more so that Ethan Crumbley might hurt himself, cause some self-harm. That was what he took from the worksheet. The parents did not disclose at the time of the hearing that Ethan had a gun, nor did they tell him about his issues with depression, some of the struggles he had been going through. They didn't bring up the writings in the journal, how dark they were, how they were threats of violence, pictures of violence. They didn't bring up the torturing of the birds. They didn't disclose any of that information to the school. And that's not even saying that they knew all of it. They did know about his mental health declining, and they knew about the gun. And those two things for sure, they did not disclose to the school, which probably would have made the school look at all of what was happening differently. Probably advised that Ethan Crumbley get immediate help that day, get into someone's medical therapy program and possibly not be allowed to return to the school because you're not just a threat to yourself now, you're actually going to be seen as a threat to staff, students, and just the general public if you were to act on these thoughts um, that you're having. Okay, let's continue with the article. But when Hopkins learned there was an active shooter at the high school, he didn't suspect Crumbley. It was only later through attendance records that he realized it was him. So he didn't expect that it was Ethan. Um, I know in the past, Ethan had explained away why he was looking up bullets and watching videos of violence. He basically told the teachers that were asking him questions that were showing some concern. Um, I want to be a video game creator, so I'm looking up this. This is my interest. I do this with my dad, and this is normal. Nothing's wrong with what I'm doing. The second thing that came out that was a new revelation was Shooter told counselor about the worksheet. When Hopkins asked the teen about the worksheet, he was concerned he might be at risk of hurting himself. He said many students were struggling amid COVID and some had attempted suicide. Now, I'm going to pause here for just a second and just say this. For over 10 years now, I've been volunteering, working with kids of all ages, K through 12. And what I did notice, like some of our programming, we had to go virtual. So, for example, we had a robotics program that's really an in person learning experience. We couldn't do robotics, so we switched over to coding, which is something you can do virtually. That's just one example. But one thing that I did notice, it was very hard for our programs to kind of rebound after COVID. A lot of people were slow to getting back into the schools and getting back involved in activities. So there was a difference in a lot of kids. They were struggling with their mental health, with socializing, with being around other kids after having so much time. I don't want to say isolated, but at home learning, virtually learning. And one thing that we did this for 2 years in a row. We brought in a mental health specialist to help the parents, provide them with information that they could take back to the community, to their kids in their households, that could give them some tips for the student and also the parents so they could recognize signs. So it was just a great experience. So great, like I said, we brought the staff back a second year to go over that information and more in depth. So you do have to address those needs of students. A lot of students came back just different. Coming back slowly into extracurricular activities, and that's it. The same curricular activities were even available. There were many changes after the kids returned. Okay, let's get back to this. So I'm going to pick up where I left off. The teen told Hopkins that he could see why this looks bad, and I'm not going to do anything. So he's basically telling the counselor, me having this worksheet and these drawings and these thoughts, I know it looks bad, but I'm not planning anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to act on this. The sad part about it, I think you have to go with the overabundance of caution because you're not just trying to just protect Ethan Crumbley. You have to look at this as protecting all of the students, all of the staff, all of the administrators, all of security, all of the nearby community. Because if you don't take actions, if you don't take maybe an overabundance of caution, look what happened, right? Everything that he wrote, everything that he drew, his journal entries, his 19-minute video, he acted all of it out. And We can't just trust the words when you get caught and you're in trouble. People will say anything. You have to look at actions. And again, this was multiple emails from various teachers that had concern about Ethan Crumbley's behavior that would be considered threatening, would cause fear, would cause people to, want him removed. Not just remove, but get him some help also. Is there something more there? Is there something wrong? Is there something going on? Questions would have to be asked and answered. Why did you draw these images? How do you feel? What is your home life like? What is going on with you? Is everything okay? Just like the assistant principal. Is everything okay? Ethan, are you okay? Let's talk about you. Why are you feeling like this? What's going on in your world, in your life, with you now, for you to feel like your life is useless? Why would there be blood everywhere? You're saying, help me. What do you need help with? Do you need to talk to someone? Are you feeling ill? Are you having some emotional distress? Are you depressed? Are you sad? Are you lonely? I mean, I could think of 50 questions, right? Um, Again, I have said this before. To me, it was like a sounding alarm, like a symbol. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Help me. I need your attention. I need your care. I need your concern. I'm hurting over here. There's something wrong over here. I'm not well. I'm I'm acting it out. I'm writing it out. I'm screaming it out. I'm telling people. I'm asking for help. I'm telling my parents, nobody hears me, nobody sees me, nobody believes me. I'm struggling with my mental health. Um, the thoughts, like he said, they won't stop. I'm at home with these thoughts. I'm writing in the journal these thoughts. I'm telling my friend in the thoughts. I'm posting online the gun. I'm coming to school. I'm drawing these images. I'm writing these words. These are words of terror, of horror, of death, pictures depicting violence. And nobody saw him, even his own counselor being warned, being told, the teachers expressing concern. They didn't see it. Nobody illuminated this young person. Mind just totally warped, totally in a dark place, in dark thoughts, distressed, distraught, just overwhelmed with these ideas of society, these negative images, these negative thoughts, the fact that people don't have money, people are struggling, and how does it get better? And you work a job and you don't get ahead and you don't get anywhere. All of his thoughts, all of his thinking ahead, he felt that his existence, his life was useless, didn't matter. Nobody cared. Nobody stopped to say, Ethan Crumbley, how can I help you? What do you need? Nobody was there to pull him out of this dark place. His parents didn't see it. Mom didn't see it. Mom laughed in his face when he said he needed help. Dad told him to suck it up. Take these pills and you need to suck it up. Clearly, someone you don't buy a gun for. Give them access to a automatic gun that could harm numerous people. Okay, point number 3. James Crumbley speaks to his son. Hopkins and Nick Ejak, Oxford's former dean of students, Both testified that when they met with the Crumbleys on the morning of November 30th, 2021, to discuss getting the shooter help after seeing the math worksheet, James spoke to his son. Hopkins said he told the teen that he could talk to his counselor, write in his journal, and that there were people he could talk to. Hopkins said, given how sad the shooter seemed, James' response seemed appropriate. What do you do when dad sees his son in this state? He's telling him there's people you can talk to. You can talk to your counselor. You can write in a journal. He never said you can talk to me. You can talk to your mom, because they weren't hearing him. They were not listening. He told him to suck it up. Jennifer Crumbley laughed in his face. They were not a safe space for Ethan to talk about his feelings. He had already expressed his feelings. In the text messages to his mother, he described seeing visions, having these delusional moments where he's seeing somebody. Things are coming, flying across. And he says, flying across the room, he says, this only happens when I'm left alone, when I'm by myself, left alone. They weren't going to do anything. They didn't care. They just didn't care. If you're telling Ethan to write in his journal, have you ever looked at his journal entries? Have you ever read his thoughts? Because he has a pattern. And he repeatedly comes back to this idea. I'm going to cause as much harm. I'm going to shoot a pretty girl. I want her to suffer like I suffered, and I'm suffering. I want the parents of the victims to suffer. And when they find out their child was unalive, I want them to unalive themselves. This was his mindset. Did James or Jennifer Crumbley ever read the journal? Did they ever look at the pictures he drew? Did they ever know he was torturing the birds? Did they know he had access to the other gun? He took a picture. He did a video. This was before they even bought him his gun in November. He did this, I believe it was in the month of August of 2021. When he said, oh, my dad just left this out, so why not? Laugh out loud. He had access to a gun months before the shooting. But he wanted his own gun. He wanted a Pacific gun. He wanted Pacific bullets because he spent his time not doing classwork, not studying, not learning whatever the teacher was teaching. He was failing in some of his classes. That's how he got put out of the house the night before the shooting. They got into a big argument, James, Jennifer, and Ethan, and they locked him out of the house the night before the shooting. This is when Ethan, in the dark, approximately 10 p.m. at night, he did a 19-minute video describing why he was going to do the shooting, all of his issues with society, how people go to work, how, it doesn't make sense. I thought I wanted to be this. I thought I wanted to be that, but I don't want to be that. I just got this mindset a year ago. People are stupid to keep going to work. They're never going to basically get ahead. So I'm going to do the mass shooting tomorrow. This is my chance and I better take it. People don't get a lot of chances in life, to make something out of themselves, to show the world, and this is my opportunity and I'm not going to let it pass me up. I'm going to take it. Because he somehow thought doing the mass shooting was going to make society view him and his life. But what it actually did, it didn't give credence to any of his negative thoughts. It actually made his family become under a microscope for how they lacked humanity, how they lacked care, concern, how they didn't put any time with him, how they left him alone, how they neglected him. A level of abuse. And allegedly, CPS, Child Protective Services, had been caught about Ethan Crumbley being left alone since he was a little boy. This didn't just start, this whole mindset, this whole neglect and anger, it had been built up over years of being left behind, unheard, unseen, nobody caring, nobody coming into his life, nobody showing him, talking to him, pulling him out of this dark place, spending time with him. When they went and checked on those horses, they didn't take Ethan, they didn't take him to the farm. He didn't get a love for horses or the farm or the people or the atmosphere. They were having Halloween parties every year at that farm. He didn't go, they didn't take him, they didn't make an account of him. They left him alone at home, and it allowed his mind to have the freedom to roam, to go into these dark spaces, to meet with other people with the same like thoughts. And maybe they were struggling according to Ethan, but they were spending thousands on their horses, thousands in alcohol. But Ethan says, hey, you can't even get ahead in life. He saw nothing but struggle. But when you look at the house, look how he lived. Look at his bedrooms. He had boarded walls up, no light. You can't see outside. Trash, clothing, items everywhere from the bed down to the floor. They said one of his dead animal heads was under the bed for months. That room didn't smell. Mom doesn't come in to check and see the room, his living conditions. They didn't care. They didn't care. I'm sorry. But let's continue on. The last highlight that was a new revelation is video of the shooter holding a gun and the safety was off. ATF Special Agent Brent Brandon, he was excellent in all of the trials. His testimony was really good. He testified about a video the shooter sent to his friend in late November 2021, shortly after the 9mm Sig Sauer was purchased, that showed him with the gun in his house, the safety off, right next to his cat Dexter. The gun was held at chest level. The video suggested the teen had access to it. Mario Lehman, Crumbley's attorney, pressed Brandon on whether Crumbley knew about the video. She also suggested Crumbley could have been nearby as it was recorded. At times, the Crumbleys were home when Ethan Crumbley was doing these behaviors. So it's not really a matter of whether they knew or not. That's part of it. But the fact that he was so comfortable doing these things while his parents were home, what were they doing? What were they doing? Did they spend time with him? Did they sit down and have family dinner? Did they talk to him? Did they pull him into conversations to find out, well, what's going on with you? How was your day at school? How was your week? What's the plans for today? Do you need anything? How's everything going? What are you thinking about? Like sometimes with teenagers, it's a little challenging because each child is totally different. Some kids you don't have to really look out or look after at all. They'll come home, they'll do their homework, they'll eat them a snack, they might sit down, they might take their shower, kind of relax, watch some TV, play a video game or something like that. And then other kids, they want to be in your face. They need your time and attention. They come in, they want to talk to you, they want to talk about their day, they want to tell you about their day, they want to tell you how they're feeling, they want to tell you, hey, mom, this is going on, I have this week, I have to do that, oh, school's got this going on, can I do this event, can we figure this out, what about the weekend, what's the plans for the weekend, can we do this weekend, can I hang out with a friend? I mean, you can have kids in the same house with two, three totally different personalities. Every kid needs a certain level of attention. Sometimes you have to seek the quiet one out. You have to go and talk, hey, come here, sit down. Mom wants to talk to you. Hey, what's going on with this? What's going on? What's the plans for that? I see this is coming up. How do you want to do this? What do you think about that? What do you need? What do you want? Do you want to go here? Do you want to stop at the store? Like, I guess because I've dealt with all kind of kids, from nephews to nieces, and then all these kids where I volunteer. I just get it. Like, Ethan just, he was in a dark, dark place. I've seen it before. Um, I know educators have to step in and find ways to, come into their mind, come into their space, because sometimes they'll kind of regress back. You know, they might not be interactive, they might not say anything, or they'll be the total opposite, and they'll cause all kind of trauma and drama and antics in class, where you might have to have them removed, or they'll just be sullen, quiet, not speaking, withdrawn. I mean, you can get the polar opposite, two extremes. But one thing I know, you have to take the time. And when you care, you ask questions, you seek them out, you talk to them, you show concern. You ask them about themselves, about their family, about their home life. You try to engage them. You don't overlook them. You don't ignore them. You don't discount them. You don't, um, treat them in a way that kind of excludes them, because a lot of times they just need a little bit more of your time. And um, I think, if I'm fair, teachers have to deal with a lot of different things in the classroom that have nothing to do with education. It has nothing to do with classwork, learning, um, whatever the plan is for the day. They have so many problems, not them, but they can be dealing, managing, handling so many different things that it's really a lot on a teacher, an educator, a volunteer, or staff in the classroom, because they might have 20, 30, even 40 students, all these different personalities. And you have to find ways to teach within in those constructs, but also spend some time with all of these individual kids. And it's not easy. It can be challenging. Sometimes it can be hard. Sometimes it can be difficult. And it's always beautiful to see educators that love people, they love kids, because that's not always the case. Um, I think I think in most cases, to be a teacher now, you have to care. I don't think it's a profession that people really run to. I think it's a profession to be very proud of. But it can be hard, and it's something that they choose. So I just want to make sure that I'm not extremely hard on the administration, because they have a tough job. They're managing some schools 2,000, 3,000 students. To be a counselor and manage two, three, 400 different people, that's a hard job. Um, with so many responsibilities, commitments, day in and day out tasks, in keeping up with different behaviors, different students, different staff reporting. Um, I just wish that more resources can be given, if that's a matter of funding or educational resources, donations can be given to support teachers and administrators. I think um, it is something that has been a pressing problem, I would say, over the last 20 years. But with the level of the mass shootings, and particularly the level of mass shootings in K through 12, is something that needs to be addressed on a national level. And there needs to be some budgets and funding help, some closing of these gaps. So that's what I want to say about that. But I just want to encourage people, um, if you don't know about the Oxford High School mass shooting, um, I think it is a very interesting case study of a family. Not just that it was a mass shooting, but the structure of the family. The entire Crumbley family, from Ethan Crumbley to Jennifer Crumbley to James Crumbley, they could individually be studied and also as a whole unit for what happened and why it happened. And I think if they were studied and there was an investigation going over the last 15 years, I think we could have a better understanding of the mindset of each individual person, how the structure of their family worked, and pretty much, unfortunately, how all of the workings and ongoings allow Ethan Crumbley to evolve, to develop, and to prepare and execute this mass shooting at Oxford High School. In all honesty, he could have really hurt, unalived a lot more people if it had not been for some of the intervention. I think he would have unalived more people. I think if there was not a quick response by the administration and the teachers and staff, because he planned it during passing to start the shooting, where you're going to have a ton of students in those hallways. I think it was the quick response of the overall Oxford staff. Also, I think the police response being swift and being intentional about engaging Ethan Crumbley as the shooter, not waiting. I think that saved a lot of lives. And as I've said before, we have to give law enforcement credit. We also have to acknowledge the staff, the assistant principal, engaging Ethan, seeing him. There were a lot of things done right that day, even though this is an extreme tragedy. We can learn a lot from it. And that's why I'm encouraging you, if you haven't done so already, please go back. Check out my playlist for Ethan Crumbley and his parents. It can help detail so you can catch up if you're not aware, because again, this is a historical prosecution where Jennifer Crumbley and James Crumbley were the first parents in the United States to be prosecuted for a level of homicide. Although involuntary manslaughter, this had never been done, where they're holding parents accountable because there was just an extreme lack of ordinary care, a response to protect the community, the other students, the staff, the administrators, when this young person was declining in every sense of the word. His mental health, he described it as physically and mentally dying. He said he wanted to call 911, but he was so afraid that his parents would be angry with him because they didn't believe him. They didn't believe he needed help. And moreover, just like the school, they didn't err on the cautionary side and do it anyway, where he was self diagnosing himself with paranoia. He said in his journal entry, and I'll leave it there, I'm going to shoot up the school. It's leading me to shoot up the school because I have no help for my mental health problems. At 15 years old, dark thoughts, dark nature, every writing in the journal was of violence. We will see where all of this goes. So thank you for checking out this video. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I will bring you another case update. The trial will probably be wrapping pretty soon. Please remember, stay smart, stay safe, stay savvy, be well, all my friends. Take care, everybody. Have a beautiful evening. Bye, everybody.